Hi, everybody. I want to introduce you to Anya Lilly. And Anya and I have been on video together before, but she's going to be teaching a couple classes. So we're going to talk about that and talk about what she does. So I just wanted to introduce her to you today. Hi, Anya.
Nice.
So tell us, how did you get started with all this stuff?
Well, I'll try and condense it because I have a tendency to talk a lot. But long story short, I was really quite open as a child. My parents are not trained spiritualists or anything like that, but they are quite open. So I had my dad with his openness with UFOs and things like that, and really curiosity. He'd always had kind of experiences with the extra dimensionals from being a teenager himself. So he's always had kind of that perspective on things, not necessarily too deep, so he never really put it into us. He used to tell us we were magic as kids, so that was quite good. And my mum, she was more interested in spirits and spirituality, so she never trained in it but always had that kind of open mind and talked about it and things like that. So it left quite an open space for me to just dive into what I was naturally drawn to. And as a child, it was I've been a very, very, very sensitive empath from a young age, and I really struggled to process that. So that became tied in with mental health, what you would call it. And it was just kind of a whole roller coaster of navigating through to the kind of when I gained that perspective on understanding energy and understanding how that works and things like that. That's when I gained clarity between mental health and actual being open as a spiritualist and being an open medium or a magnet to energy and things like that, because I really suffered quite a lot. I had a lot of visions as a child, so I used to see what you'd call premonitions. So I'd dream things and then they'd come true, sometimes even years later, but I'd remember waking up from the dream. So that was always quite interesting. I remember thinking as a child, like, don't everyone else experience this, or is this just me? So, there was always kind of experiences like that that left me quite more open. And then there was the 10 years from about 13, 14, 15, around that age, to about 2021, of physical and mental health. So I had the panic attacks, the anxiety, the depression, the stomach problems. I was in and out of hospital 8, 9 times a year for months on end, 26 tablets a day, intravenous morphine, all that shebang. And it was to go so deep into that world to kind of find no answers and no support and no understanding, in the meantime studying a criminology degree and just always trying to learn and gain answers into how is the brain working, how is it connected to the mind and the body, and trying to find these answers to these questions that my soul just had, these burning questions from 15, 16, like, why is the world this way? It doesn't make sense to me. It never felt right that we was just supposed to live, work, get a job, paying bills and die. Like, it just never had an understanding of resonance with me. And I used to say that to my parents. They didn't know how to react at the time. That was quite funny. But yeah, so then it was about 17, 18. I went and did a tarot card course while still being really poorly, still being in and out of hospital. And the tarot card course kind of opened the whole world up then. I went to Tuesday night developments. I was meditating a lot. I was going to a mediumship demonstration on a Sunday. And I just kind of just dived into this world and was like, this just makes so much sense, understanding the perception of energy and working with the archangels and calling in for healing and things like that. That's where my journey started with spirituality. And then it just kind of propelled from being 17, 18 to going from a tarot card reader to working with healing, mediumship, psychic. And then in obviously 2020, that's when everything changed for a lot of us. And I didn't really come away from that. It was just like I had a bigger purpose than that. So, it became more of awakening and why we're here, what is the soul mission. But then that really tied into the work that I was doing in 2021 with past life readings, Akashic readings, inner child clearing, soul attunement sessions, tapping into the Akashic records and clearing any blockages on that level, working with the extra dimensionals and channeling, and really tapping into my own inner self, like with my own artwork, my own singing, my own music, creating music again, and just really connecting in with why I'm here, not just like doing it as a work thing. I think that was where I was kind of not connecting the two together at the first initial starts. And that's why I was so poorly still, like from working at 17, I didn't get physically better until about 21. So I was still experiencing, I mean, if anything, I would go as far to say as it made me worse because I was taking in so much energy and not understanding how to process it and transmute it. So I actually got physically worse and mentally worse some of the time.
Mhm.
But then it was, you know, the mental health journey, and, you know, it explored throughout that process. But yeah, it's been a wild ride. And I think I had to go through such an intensive process to get here at 25 on this level of understanding, you know, working with the soul mission and the higher levels of self. And then, you know, a big passion of mine in 2020 then became training other people and working with other people to watch them light up their soul, and writing the book Light Up Your Life, you know, just helping people connecting with their inner soul, and whichever way that be. For me, that was initially tarot cards, and then led on to mediumship and everything. You know, there's always kind of a doorway for
Mm.
where we're drawn to. A lot of healers start through massage and holistic therapies, because you know, they're doing the massage, and that's how Trish started. She was a massage therapist, and it's usually that connection with the hands on with the body then connects in the healing abilities that just come out naturally. You know, most people don't initially think about becoming a healer, it just channels in as they're a massage therapist.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it works. For me, I was always hypersensitive to energy, and I think my dad, having his own mental health and things, having to kind of assess energy, helped with working with energy later on the line, because I learned how to read it as a child. So I had quite a great skill set up to lead me on this path. And it was with immense suffering, but I'm very grateful for each part of that suffering, because it led me to the deeper understanding and the awareness that I do have at such a young age. And to be able to do the mission that I need to do at this level, you know, I had to experience the whole expansion of it. And yeah, it was a wild ride, but I'm glad I'm here.
Me too. I'm glad you're here too. Yeah, I get it. It has been, I noticed the higher the density or the older the soul, a lot more drama as we're living out our life with health or mental issues, or maybe a disability. Like there's been a lot of that. So, and I've gone through my own. So I totally get it. And it really does teach you so much. So we have all these people out there in front of us watching this who have all these amazing skills. And I think that some of us are here to spark them and to give them encouragement, skills, and also self-belief so that they can go forward. And I think that your classes are going to be really amazing in that way for people, because everybody can do this.
That is so
Just
relevant.
a matter of practice and cultivating, like everybody has a gift that's the most prominent.
Yep.
So finding out what that is really huge.
Yep. What sparks your soul? Because so true what you say there. You know, I was doing tarot card readings for, you know, for about 2 years, and then I went to a mediumship workshop day, and she was talking through it, and I'd realized I'd been doing that for the past year and a half, 2 years, and I had no idea. And it is simply, you know, going back to what you're saying, the self-confidence, the self-belief. You know, again, I was doing it for a while, practicing on friends and family, not even knowing if what I was doing was real at the beginning, because it was friends and family. And it wasn't until Trish forced me to do one of her customers randomly. I come downstairs in my pajamas, she's like, right, read this person. And I did. And I was so accurate. And her dad came through. And that's, for me, one of the first times I really believed it, because I was like, wow, this is someone, I don't even know her name, and all this information has just come through. And that was a real moment of confidence for me. So that ties in with the practice, you know, on my the longer courses that I offer one-to-one, the end part of that course is a practice session where you have to do, you know, your practice readings, and it's scary and it's full of anxiety, but it's the best thing ever, because it teaches you how powerful you are, and it shows you what you're capable of. And yeah, I love watching them light up, like you say. It's that spark in the soul. We all have it, you know.
Yeah.
And because there's so many boxes, like do this, go this way, go to college, go to uni, get a job, it doesn't leave room for you to find that in the normal ways.
No.
So yeah, it'd be a great way.
Yeah, that was done on purpose. By not very nice people. They're like, oh, we don't want the humans to know what kind of power they have. So you're going to teach mediumship, right? You're going to have an introduction to that. And what's the other thing? Protection?
We've got the introduction to mediumship, to the world of mediumship, and then we've got the power of protection, which can apply to everyone and anyone. So that's not necessarily just readers or healers or channelers or whatever. Like every single human should practice spiritual protection as much as they brush their teeth. Like it is standard practice. It should be just the daily already done, because it is the fundamental value is keeping your own energy yours. And I'm going to cover like techniques, tips and methods that I've discovered throughout my journey, throughout working with other people, you know, the different crystals, the different modalities, the different beings we can work with for protection, different archangels and things like that, and how to work with that, how to turn on and off your abilities. Even if you're not a reader, again, a lot of us are empaths without necessarily being consciously aware of that, and we're all little radars picking up like magnets, walking into rooms like emotional sponges, absorbing it all and then going home and releasing that sponge on everyone else in the home. So it's really about methods, you know, grounding protection methods to keep the energy safe and keep it protected. I think everyone should know that. So I think that's a really, really
Yeah, I think anybody that has a soul, so anybody that's not a robot or a CLONE, should be practicing that. I know that I never used to, but now that I have over the last probably 5 or 6 years, actually more like 8 years, it's made such a massive difference. And you can protect against something so big, you wouldn't believe it, with intention.
And
so, yeah.
you said I didn't do it at first, you know, and I were actually open up and reading, and I didn't understand the value of it. And Trish, I will always give her credit for this. She really like worked on grounding me and protecting me as well as herself, and you know, helping me learn that whilst being so open. And I'd have really been at a lot more risk without her there when opening up, and not everybody else has someone else like that when opening up. So
Yeah,
it is so important. That's why I am so like strict on it now. You know, I will not open anyone up in any way without getting this locked off first. You know, your boundaries, your protection, it is the most important thing. And the reason why I'm so kind of firm on it is because my lack of it, with the attachments and the energetic attacks that I experience, with already having that little bit of mental health or anxiety and depression, the amplification of that when not protecting and working and just even being open around a lot of energy in a nightclub or a supermarket, you know, that experience can be really debilitating. And not grounded enough when working, that can just be, it would wipe me out for days. Like literally about a week it would take me to, I'd be sobbing and crying, not knowing why, you know, it wasn't even my own. So it's so crucial and so important. Even if you're not working, again, if you're around people that are of a lower vibration or that are projecting their stuff onto you, if you're living or working or traveling to other places with a lot of multiple energies, it's so important to have that protection over you. It's like going out naked. You know, you're leaving yourself fully exposed and vulnerable to the whole world. And, you know, we just need to keep that like armor of light over us whilst we're doing this journey.
Yeah. So many people are used to just dumping everything on other people. So if you're open, you're becoming the garbage can. Like literally, it's just really not good. So anything you can do to self-protect is very important. And I think that's great that you're going to teach it, because nobody's taught it. I've taught energy, medicine, and you know, all kinds of stuff like that, and healing, but I haven't actually specifically taught just protection, which I think is really huge for people.
Yeah, me neither as well, because, and again, this is with all love to everyone I've been trained by and been mentored by throughout the years, you know, even if it's just one day. But that is something I think is really lacking in this industry, is when you go to a workshop day or you even a group meditation. There were about 3 years where I could not group meditate. No way. I could not go to a group meditation. People are going to these festivals and these days. I cannot go most of the time because it puts me at too much of a vulnerable position, you know. And it's like that awareness of when you're working in this industry or even teaching, it's the most important thing. And I think that's so important that it's brought up now. And I'm just really grateful, you know, we're working together on that, and we all learn from each other, because I've been doing this a while, and then there's tips and techniques I use, but then also like when we was in the desert, there was tips you gave to me and Antonia gave to us, and Abby gave to us, and we all shared with each other. And it's like, that's what I'm wanting to do here. You know, not all of these are my methods. These are some that I know have worked for people I've trained, people I work with. And a lot of that is going to be useful because not one method works for all. So it's just clear. I just wanted to be clear. I'm not just going to teach one method. There's going to be so much variety that you can choose from. And it's about picking what resonates with you. And we'll go through it in different sections of like visualization, herbs, crystals, physical things we can do, spiritual things we can do, and just really bringing that into the now so that we have kind of more clarity on that.
That's great. I love that. Yeah. It's so important. I know I do it whenever I'm with a client, I protect them and myself and the computer and all this stuff you're protecting all the time because we're in an energetic soup that is pretty crazy right now.
Right.
It's very unbalanced, I would say. Yeah.
A wall, a room, everything is vibrational energy. And the one thing I just want to be clear is, even if you're not consciously protecting right now, it doesn't mean you're at constant place of danger, because like I said, I wasn't doing it for years consciously and Honey wasn't, and we still survived. It's just, you're not going to be at like severe attack of danger. I work a lot subconsciously, so, and I know other people do, and Tony works a lot subconscious programs running, and I don't always consciously ask for it, but I know every time I'm working there's an extra level of protection on because I've already set that intention. So it's like, there'll be so many different ways to it, and it's sometimes just about figuring out yours and feeling what's comfortable with you. And I think that's what I want to help people do, because like you say, Honey, you've always already been protecting them all in the sessions. So it's not necessarily being necessary to teach protection when you're doing it, but it's quite nice for them to be able to do it themselves now and have that ability to do that.
Yeah, it's the way to be sovereign.
Mm.
So, and that's where we're headed. So everybody's going to know how to do everything, but to learn it as we need it, I think is a beautiful thing, because self-protection from energetic nonsense that's going on around you is massive right now. So
yeah, and discernment between that energetic nonsense, because for a long time I just thought it was my own shit, and I think that's the main thing to figure out is what's your energy first. Let's strip everything back. What's yours? Then let's work from there, and that's the best way to deal with it, so we're not having all the noise interfering.
Because once you're clear, like, you're like, ooh, I feel slightly off. Something is coming in at me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get rid of it.
And then it makes like, I remember when I said it to Mark before, he was like, it sounds like a lot of work. And then I thought about it, I was like, oh, actually, it actually does sound like a lot of work. But it's not, because it just becomes so natural. It is no different than going to make a glass of water or making your food. Like, when I feel that instant change of energy, the protection's up, the angels are forward, whatever method I'm using, it's done instantly. And then the reassurance and the calmness and the preventative energy that's put in place instead of not doing that, like, that is so much more worth doing. That little tiny bit of effort that seems like a lot, that's going to prevent this whole days of having to clear that energy or clear that attachment or clear that thing, so it is really like a big measure.
Yeah. Nip it in the bud is how they would say it here.
We say that too.
So yeah. So is there anything else that you want to share with anyone, about what you're going to be doing?
Sorry, the dogs was just barking. I was just making
okay.
I just muted it for a second. I was like, oh no. Yeah, so obviously the introduction to mediumship, that's going to be, because we didn't really talk a little much about that. I mean, it is kind of what it says on the tin. It's more going to be about like the different clairs, the different type of senses, mainly the distinguishment between psychic and mediumship, because there's a big kind of blur between that, and how to opening up, and working with things like that. Obviously there is more of a 6 to 8 week and 12-week courses that I do separately, which are a lot more in depth, but this is going to cover kind of the introduction to that, and to allow you to kind of explore whether that is for you, whether that is already how you're working. Because like I said, when I went to that mediumship day, a lot of it clicked on that I'd already been doing that for a long time. So, it might be the case that you just gain clarity and understanding on what it is you're actually, how you're working, what senses you're using and things like that. So yeah, it's going to be kind of a brief introduction to mediumship. In the future, we've mentioned there's multiple courses that I am available to offer, like the introduction to psychic interpretation, channeling with the ETs via painting and artwork, maybe then a channeling course, something to do with different types of channeling, past lives, spirit guides. Yeah, I think there's quite a couple that can come forward. I could list the list go.
There's going to
But
be a wealth of information that comes from you, I'm sure. And some of it will probably be subscription, like it'll be like a block of courses. So I'm excited to see how this unfolds, and everything will be below in the description. And I just want to say thank you to Anya, and thank you for coming and doing this with the school, the Endeavor World Project. Yeah, really excited.
I just wanted to say how grateful I am to you for bringing me in on this opportunity, because I really have a feeling it's going to be something that's going to help so many people, and just help that, you know, energy propel up and help us all unite together. My main thing is helping people step into their power, you know, transformation to true self, stepping into your true self being. And that's what I think we resonate with each other so much, is because you kind of want to teach people to do it themselves too, you know. And I think that's what it's like, allowing people to step into their own power, because we're all so powerful, we're all so capable. It's just removing the extra stuff to get to the clarity underneath, and I think that's what we're going to be able to do together and as a team. It's going to be beautiful.
It is. It's going to be beautiful, and there's no reason for gatekeeping. And one thing too I want to mention is these classes are live. So these 2 classes she's talking about are live, so you will get to ask questions. So anyway, I hope everybody has a beautiful day. Thank you, Anya.
Thank you so much, love.